Hello lovely viewers, welcome to my channel. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel. Married to Medicine star Dr. Heavenly Kimes clears up rumors that her son was recently arrested. It was a big misunderstanding. Dr. Heavenly is setting the record straight about allegations surrounding her son's alleged arrest. In a recent live stream chat with media personality and famed producer Carlos King, the Married to Medicine star addressed the rumors. Heavenly clarified that while her son Damon Kimes Jr. was previously detained by authorities years ago, the incident was not recent, despite what some blogs have reported. According to Heavenly, she and the public only found out about the situation recently because her hubby, Damon, handled it quietly, without informing her, and confirmed that their son never got charged with anything. She added that the situation was ultimately just a big misunderstanding. In the world of Bravo, particularly its black-led franchises, shade isn't just entertainment. It's a dialect. It's not always about conflict. Sometimes it's performance, armor, or an expression of control. Other times, it's a form of deflection. But more often than not, the sharp tongue and the sly eye roll serve a deeper purpose: survival. For more than a decade, viewers have been captivated by the Real Housewives of Atlanta and Married to Medicine, shows that offer aspirational storylines while also allowing us to witness the intricate, often complicated dance of Black womanhood under a spotlight. And through it all, the archetype of the mean girl has endured, sometimes feared, sometimes celebrated, but always present. The mean girl, as we've been taught to recognize her, is cunning and charismatic. She's the woman with the quick comeback, the icy stare, the refusal to shrink or apologize. But what happens when that archetype appears in a room full of Black women? Women navigating power, visibility, ambition, and public expectation. On Bravo, that image is warped and redefined, especially because Black women are rarely afforded the space to be complex without being labeled difficult, bitter, or worse. In this context, meanness becomes less about cruelty and more about posture, how one commands attention, respect, or distance. And in 2024, no one stirred that conversation more potently than Phaedra Parks. Phaedra, a longtime Bravo veteran, known for her genteel shade and composed demeanor, re-entered the spotlight this season as the newest cast member on Married to Medicine. Her arrival brought tension, her words often coated in sugar and steel. She made headlines and sparked major friction after referring to her new castmates as these kinds of B***titches and mean girls ahead of Dr. Jackie's Met Gala, a statement that fractured whatever fragile goodwill she may have had with the group. Some women were incensed. What followed was a season of passive-aggressive moments, sharp glances, selective invites, and pointed critiques that seemed to prove her very point. But in classic Bravo fashion, nothing was ever black and white. The response to Phaedra's mean girl comment lit up social media. Some viewers agreed with her, pointing out the coldness and exclusion she faced as a newcomer. Others saw it as projection, especially given Phaedra's own messy history on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, where she left under a cloud of scandal. It's hard to forget her season 9 fallout, where she was accused of spreading a disturbing rumor about castmate Kandi Burruss, an incident many fans still haven't forgiven. That moment complicated Phaedra's legacy, casting her as someone capable not only of shade, but of real harm. Yet even with that context, her presence on Married to Medicine felt like a return to form. She arrived with grace, unbothered glamour, and the kind of theatrical timing reality TV producers dream of. But her refusal to integrate seamlessly into the group made her a target. The other women, longtime cast members with deep bonds and old wounds, met her with suspicion. And over time, that suspicion hardened into something harsher: dismissal, condescension, and, ironically, meanness. Here's where two things can be true at once. While Phaedra may have been justified in calling out a clique-like coldness from the cast, her own record is far from spotless. She too has been on the giving end of exclusion and manipulation. It's the kind of contradiction that reality TV thrives on, and that audiences often recognize in themselves. Still, we'd be remiss not to examine how Dr. Simone, Dr. Jackie, and Dr. Heavenly, three of the show's cornerstones, embodied the very behavior they took offense to. Whether it was side-eye laced commentary, gatekeeping the guest list, or shutting Phaedra down mid-conversation, the group engaged in microaggressions and groupthink that gave real weight to Phaedra's label, even if they refused to admit it. Dr. Simone's appearance on Watch What Happens Live only complicated matters further. In a sharp aside, she noted that Phaedra had called them mean girls, yet was now returning to the biggest mean girl, referencing Portia Williams' re-entry into RHOA. The implication was clear. If Phaedra could realign with someone she once held at the center of scandal, how genuine was her critique? But that quip also betrayed something else, a refusal to acknowledge that mean girl behavior doesn't exist in a vacuum. It shifts, it adapts, it travels between franchises. It changes depending on who's in the room, and often it reflects less about the individual and more about the group dynamic at any given moment. Almost all of the ladies across franchises have been at fault for something that was mean against one another. The term mean girl is rarely neutral. It's almost always laden with judgment, hierarchy, and power. It can be true and weaponized at the same time. And when Black women use it to describe one another, particularly in public, it carries extra weight, a cultural shorthand that both calls someone out and boxes them in. In that way, the label becomes less of a descriptor and more of a performance itself, a defense mechanism, a mirror, a mask. So the question lingers, what exactly makes someone a mean girl? Is it the tone of their voice, the intention behind their words, the alliances they form? Is it the confidence to say what others won't? Or is it simply the refusal to bend to a group dynamic? To understand what's happening on Bravo, we have to widen the frame. In traditional pop culture, the mean girl is a white, affluent, hyper-feminine figure. Think Regina George in Mean Girls, Blair Waldorf in Gossip Girl, or Cher Horowitz in Clueless. Characters who derive power from their ability to belittle and exclude. But in the context of Black women on reality TV, it shifts. The same behaviors, snark, exclusion, confrontation, are often met with harsher judgment. Black women are rarely afforded the luxury of just being shady. They are often perceived as angry, aggressive, or difficult. What reads as fun and feisty in white women becomes threatening in Black women. Dr. Brittany Cooper, in her work on Black female rage, writes, "The world is uncomfortable with angry Black women because we are not supposed to be angry. We're supposed to be accommodating, nurturing, and loyal, regardless of how we are treated." The mean girl, in this context, becomes someone who refuses those expectations, often at a cost. Within the walls of Married to Medicine, meanness has many faces. Dr. Heavenly, for example, has spent seasons hurling insults, shifting between preacher and provocateur. Dr. Jackie, serene and stoic, rarely raises her voice, but her coolness can sting. Sweet Tea even accused Toya of attempting to pit her against Quad. And in part 3 of the reunion, Dr. Simone stamped it by saying that's Quad's karma. These women, all layered and compelling in their own ways, wield power differently. But each has, at some point, been accused of being a mean girl by castmates, fans, or each other. What Phaedra's return revealed wasn't just how she navigates conflict. It was how women respond when they feel their status, their space, or their story is being challenged. Watching the season unfold, it became clear that the mean girl label was being used as a weapon, not just by Phaedra, but by everyone involved. And maybe that's the trick. Maybe mean girl isn't an identity so much as a role, one that gets assigned and reassigned depending on who's speaking, who's hurt, and who's holding the power at the time. Outside the confines of television, this dynamic feels familiar. In our lives, the mean girl label has often been used to punish Black women for refusing to play nice, to be accommodating, or to remain silent. It's used to shame assertiveness, to downplay intellect, to rewrite history. Sometimes, it names behavior that genuinely causes harm. But more often, it's a catch-all term for women who dare to prioritize themselves. Women who draw boundaries. Women who lead without apology. It's also worth naming that the label rarely lands the same way on white women in the same genre. When white women engage in conflict on reality TV, they're often described as strong-willed or unfiltered. Their drama is considered campy, entertaining, harmless. Black women, however, are given far less room for error. Their assertiveness is policed, their anger pathologized, their emotions scrutinized and weaponized in ways that echo how Black women are treated in the real world, at work, in public, even within their families. In that way, watching Married to Medicine and The Real Housewives of Atlanta becomes more than just a guilty pleasure. It becomes a study in performance and perception. The reads and rivalries are real, yes, but so are the emotions. And beneath the wigs, the luxury labels, and the glam, there are women trying to navigate complex friendships under the pressure of public scrutiny. Sometimes they misstep, sometimes they lash out, sometimes they self-destruct. But sometimes they reveal a kind of truth that rarely gets airtime. The reality that Black women are allowed to be complicated too. If the anatomy of a mean girl on Bravo looks like quick wit, cold shoulders, and fierce independence, then it also reflects the pressures Black women feel to balance grace and grit, power and palatability. The label mean rarely tells the full story. It flattens what is often a deeply human response to being unseen, unheard, or unprotected. It overlooks the ways Black women protect themselves when softness isn't safe, and it fails to ask what hurt, fear, or betrayal might be hiding underneath the surface. Maybe that's why Phaedra's comment hit such a nerve, because it forced the group and the viewers to confront parts of themselves that are a little too familiar. The times they've excluded someone to preserve a sense of control. The moments they've chosen silence over accountability. The power plays made in the name of protecting their image. The truth is, the mean girl isn't always the loudest one in the room. She's not always the one throwing the most shade or causing the biggest scene. Sometimes she's the one with the most to lose. The one who smiles while bleeding. The one who's been underestimated so long, she doesn't know how to receive softness. Or the one who simply stopped pretending to be someone she's not. And yet, despite knowing all this, we love them. We root for them. We quote them. We crown them queens of Bravo. The contradiction is the point. Because maybe the mean girl is less about malice and more about mastery. Mastery of presence, of language, of spectacle. Maybe we call them mean because we're uncomfortable with what it looks like when Black women stop performing likability and start protecting their peace, even when it's messy. So when the cameras cut and the confessions are aired, we're left with more than just drama. We're left with a reflection.